Ready to stop spinning your wheels and start moving your business forward? You're in the right place. On each episode of Accelerate to Achieve, we'll discuss a crucial step in the journey, offering tips and advice that you can apply immediately within your own company. From financial management to customer success to digital transformation, we'll cover it all while providing leadership lessons from top industry insiders. In just 15 minutes, you'll be inspired to build momentum through action and achieve incredible results. Welcome to Accelerate to Achieve, the podcast that moves you from question to answer and idea to execution.
Hello, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Accelerate to Achieve podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walter, the founder of Parrels Advisory. Can you have the best of both worlds? Is it possible to do work you truly love and are passionate about? Our guest today embodies this aspiration and will tell us how she achieved her dreams through imagination and hard work. Now, I'm really excited. We're joined by Lisa Caprelli today, and she's the founder and CEO of Unicorn Jazz, as well as having led a very distinguished career in radio show programming and marketing. Pointing to the immense personal satisfaction it has brought her, Lisa's enjoyed a deep connection with children that's created harmony and happiness while stoking imagination. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be on your amazing show. Thank you, Ryan.
Well, again, the check's in the mail for that comment, so thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm really excited to dive into all that's going on with Unicorn Jazz. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the journey prior to founding the company?
Yes. Well, I grew up in El Paso, Texas. I grew up a Hispanic child, middle child. My mother raised 5 children, single mom. So that was a handful for her, certainly. And so growing up, we did grow up poor, but I often say, how do you know you're poor unless someone tells you? Because we were really rich with love and roots and upbringing. My grandmother, who had just a third grade education, was forced to drop out of her school when her mother died. So she raised her family and was such an incredible woman and someone that would earmark my life and that I always honor giving back. And so growing up, I always thought the odds were against me. That I grew up really shy, all the way even through college. So I'm going to fast forward that shyness and why I gave character to Unicorn Jazz. Fast forward to where I'm at today. I moved to California when I was just under 30 years old, and I came here with nothing really but huge perseverance and determination. And then I became an entrepreneur rather quickly, and I have started and operated many businesses. And in my background became that in marketing and branding different companies. I worked with over 160 CEOs and leaders and helped them really, kickstart or create their visions and success beyond whatever they thought imaginable and possible. And right before establishing and creating Unicorn Jazz, and I am a full-time children's author today. I didn't always know that was going to be the case because I now had 28 years in marketing, brand, and business. But I created a book called Skip a Step, Imparting Wisdom for Young Entrepreneur Minds. And that was meant for as little as a student as young as 5th grade and up, and even adults love the book as well, because, you can always be young at heart. So I went on a 3-year mission researching and asking notable entrepreneurs and leaders, what would you tell your younger self? What steps would you skip if you could, be the person you are today through wisdom, through collective collaboration of people and incredible mindsets and people that are innovative and heart driven for purpose at the same time. So in creating the book, it really left an impressionable moment on me. In 2018, I walked away from marketing and business and all the clients I had, and I said, this time it's my turn. I want to do what I love and what I feel like God has created me for. Beyond my skill set in writing was to create many books. I already had published many books by that time, but I wanted to create something for children. Those are the steps that I wanted to pour into my writing, into my pictures, into the storytelling. And that's when we created Unicorn Jazz.
Well, it's awesome. And I would say, just like those big blockbuster superhero movies, we now have your origin story down. That's always key. We got to have that before we can move on.
Yeah.
So with that setting the stage, can you tell us more about Unicorn Jazz?
Yeah, so Unicorn Jazz is a unicorn that I trademark, and what's special about her is that she has a music note for a tail, and that was gonna segue into all the books and music videos and songs now that Unicorn Jazz has created. And so Unicorn Jazz represents that we're unique, unicorn, as children always ask, why are unicorn as the main character, even though she's surrounded with a cast of colorful animal friends from story to story. And so I started researching that unicorn is a globally iconic symbol. Like, people, really, babies to adults and different genders, and it's a very diverse character. So I wanted to impart that kind of fun, wisdom and entertainment that would come from creating the children's stories, and that music was going to be part of the books and stories. And during the pandemic, I created a show called Unicorn Jazz Presents the Thing I Do. It's now on Amazon, and an app called Kids Be TV. And that was so much fun to create with real kids all over the country, really, who wanted to share the things that they do. I was inspired by Sesame Street growing up. So mine was a very homegrown, modern take on coming together and bringing the content and the lessons from the stories that I was already sharing into the schools and the students and the educators that are still to this day love them. And so it was a way for me to capitalize on my marketing background and the ability to put a show together. So Unicorn Jazz represents that we all belong, and that every one of you matters, and that we're different, we're supposed to be. And those are messages I wish as a child that I would have received. And so I'm just grateful that there's many great books and great authors out there. I'm grateful that I'm able to put out original content that kids and adults appreciate. And it's a really amazing legacy that I'm grateful that one day when I pass on this earth, when we all do, it just makes me feel like, for a girl who thought she didn't matter, and bringing it all as tenfold as an adult to children, really telling them that every one of you matters. And it's important to bring happiness, kindness, all these different lessons for children, and for them to really want to also give that back to their peers. And as they grow up, get them excited about the things that they love to do and that they should do them.
Well, just so we can file it under the small world category, my children who are now well past elementary school, but when they were in elementary school, their mascot actually was the unicorn. So it was inspiring them. I don't know how many actually had that at that time. The name of the school started with a U, so they got the alliteration, but still interesting that they had that, and then they had that opportunity to, be inspired and, leverage that chance. And probably similar to yourself, my days, very early days, were shaped both by Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers. So right. I remember all of that. And I think that actually speaks a little bit to that process and maturity that we all go through. I'm a little bit interested in about the maturity in the story for you in the organization. Was it always obvious what would be next as you evolved it? Or was there a bit of an adventure? Any major or unexpected surprises or challenges over the last few years?
Oh, certainly. And I think as the business that grows at any stage, and as I've worked with many in different stages, certainly. I mean, the pandemic definitely brought all kinds of change in that I had to learn how to adapt to the new now, and leverage that we can do, like Zooms and virtual school visits. But there's still nothing like the relationship and connecting with people live in person. We know that. We are all driven for human, connection. But for me, again, instead of focusing on the doom and gloom, I just said, well, let's bring happiness to kids and adults. We all need it. You can never not have enough happiness. So we buried ourselves creating puppets, even sometimes just using sock puppets using green screen to create a show. and then creating content, and I learned how to write music, write songs, create music videos. I even learned how to edit. I have expert editors that work with me. We are a small team. And I learned about the world of licensing characters. I pray and hope and continue to raise Unicorn Jazz Brand, as one day I want it to be a cartoon series. I want there to I want Unicorn Jazz to be a household name, no different than Hello Kitty became a household name, Mickey Mouse, the brand Baby Einstein. And so I'm grateful that I still have some youth and tenacity to have the time it takes. It takes time. Nothing happens overnight.
Well, I think your own personal journey there and what you've learned is really interesting. I find that appealing because I think it also speaks to our need to continually develop ourselves, as well as the business. And I would have to imagine, as you've gone through this, there are appealing opportunities and things that come up, but they may not align perhaps with your focus or what you care most about. How hard has that been for you to sort of deal with as that comes up and to remain focused, on what matters most to you?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because I staying organized and staying focused is important as you grow with any company. And you're going to find that things may take you in a different direction, in a positive direction. For example, we have a huge charity initiative where we help and give back and donate books that the public sends in, as well, to places like Children's Hospital, orphanages, food banks. And although there that's a huge give that we do, and I'm proud to be part of it. So much so, we have a book called Help and Give Back, along with the song and music video that all of us can have a way of helping and giving back in some way, I believe in. And so it's just really knowing what your yeses are for the time that you have, because we all get the same 24 hours in a day, and staying driven to manage and take on what you can, and knowing how to say no to what does not serve you in the season of your life. And we all have different seasons of our lives. When you're going to college, it's a different time. You're going to be, studying and focused differently than someone who already has their career and is driven in their career. But I believe it's also important to have balance in your life. I have an article that I put out, and as a Forbes writer and speaker now, I believe in something called the 5 hats. And the 5 hats for me, as I will share, is that there's 5 areas of life that I believe that we all at different times of our lives are aiming for balance, and we juggle them all, and there's no right or wrong answer. It's just a way to question, where are you at this week, and where you want to be if you are in a relationship, or where are your employees headed. And the 5 areas of life for balance are balancing your family first, your friends, your career, your business. We all are driven for connection, so that would be the next hat: connection, intimacy. And then the 5th hat is adventure, like what excites you. And we all have different hats. And once I was able to create this philosophy of the 5 hats, it really came from all the different people I work with. When the years they told me where they work too much, or everyone has trials and tribulations. And then when you do have them, who are you drawing from to help you through those times? Your friends and family. So I appreciate now that entrepreneurs, I think many of us will admit that you could be a workaholic and then neglect other hats, per se. So I tend to balance them so much better now, in going into my 50s, than I did at any other stage in my life, Ryan.
No, I think dated in a similar generation to yourself, I always use the old tuner. We're always kind of tuning those different dials. And it changes, and there's no one setting that's right for me every week or day, and definitely between people. So I can really relate. As I hear you speak, and also just based on, having seen, some of the wonderful content and other visuals and everything you've got out there, it's clear, themes and messages around community, giving back, and the fact that just everyone possesses gifts is important. Why do you feel that's so important? Why is that such an important message?
It's such an important message because As we were all once young. Let me repeat that. We were all once young. And that's why I feel it's important to help the younger generation if you can. And those are the like-minded people that I get to work with. And I say, we were once young. And so if you are doing what you love and you learn how to enjoy that, whether it's a hobby, an interest, uh, and you are given that respect in enjoying and exploring, knowing that it may be different than another sibling in your family, another student, I really feel that you can foster your own inner unique skill set growing up. And because if someone would have told me when I was young that, here, color, paint, that's going to be one day an interest and hobby of yours that at one time was a business for me, I would have loved to have art supplies and colors in my hand as a young age. I wasn't given that opportunity. The same with writing, although I always found my only voice was on paper because remember I was that shy girl and that was my escape per se, and diving into books and reading was another way to foster my imagination. If I would have had some authors don't speak about the joy that his or her career has been afforded because of writing, something that's just a joy, something that brings you happiness. And again, there's people that are driven by science, they're driven by different things. We all need the world. We all need these different people that makes the world go round. And so as I started going into schools, I realized like not everyone's going to be an author, not everyone's going to be an illustrator, not everyone's going to have had their career in marketing or become a podcast host like yourself or be an entrepreneur. But their questions were kind of common in that they saw the joy that I had in my life and the changes and taking the chance and on what I want to do, learning how to grow, learning how to be a speaker and communicate. That's why my degree is in social psychology. So for me, it's really to impress upon people that at any age you can start over and do something that you love or that brings you purpose. However, if you could tap into those interests at a younger age, I just think it's just going to evoke more happiness within us. And when you're happy, everyone around you is happier. And shouldn't we all be a catalyst and a bridge for more happiness and more kindness?
Well, I definitely couldn't have said it better, but I agree 100% with everything you had to say. Now, I imagine you've got some pretty unique perspectives into education with all you've done. What are
Mm-hmm.
some of the key takeaways you have from that?
Yeah, the takeaways, again, is to really encourage, people of all ages, but my focus now is the youth, that that to find someone to believe in you, that's going to encourage you to develop your hobby interest or maybe what maybe your career one day. And because a lot of times, and you and I, Ryan, when we were in grade school, we didn't have YouTube or Google. We're older than that. And I remind them as they laugh, technology is anything invented after you were born. And, there's so many different careers and new careers being made. Think of like the people that started Netflix, the people, who created Uber, all these different ideas that came from a collective body of people, no doubt. And it's just to really inspire children and adults that you should always be a lifelong learner, I believe. And if you find joy in what you're doing, whether it's a hobby, interest, or career, and you get to grow up to do any of those, it's going to make for an awesome life. And we're all living longer. We know that. The data is that 10,000 people are turning 65 each and every day. And it's never too late to become that person that you want to be.
So it's clear through your journey that you have pursued your passions. You've taken so many new things on and succeed.
Yeah.
I know there's folks out there that have similar passions or even different passions, but just strengthen their passion. But whether it's the risk, consideration, or just the size of it all seems to hold them back. Would you have any advice to them for those who see
Yeah.
it, but just aren't sure where to go or what to do?
Yeah, I would say, start small, start with some actionable steps. Maybe you can learn from, YouTube videos. Maybe you want to enroll in courses now thanks to Zoom and course creations that many people have done who are experts in their field. You could do it out of the comfort of your home. You could get out and learn something new. So I would encourage you to if you've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, start taking guitar lessons. And maybe it's not for you, but go through the exercise of finding that out, and, have grace on yourself that you are trying something new. Maybe through the process of wanting to play a new instrument, that maybe you decide that singing is something in your forte. And, whether it's art, learning something new, writing a book, there's so many things that every one of you who are listening has some talent and some strength. And everyone, Ryan, has a story. Everyone comes from somewhere. Everyone has family, whether it was great or a struggle. Every one of us has a story. And I truly believe if you tap into who you are, and then to really change that if you want, like adding on interests and hobbies and careers or specialties, and giving that back to the world, whoever that world is for you, it's a beautiful thing.
So we've talked the past and the present. I'd love to just jump quickly into the future. What's on the horizon? What should we expect to see?
Thanks, Ryan. Well, like I said, I pray and I work on having an animation series one day. More books. I won't ever stop writing books. I have, I think, 18 books and counting today, that are unicorn jazz books, coloring books, teacher guides, and books for adults that I wrote before unicorn jazz became my life. So definitely writing. I love collaborating with like-minded people. I would love to have some of my books in small theater. I actually have my first story as a playwright. More songs. Songs are actually very easy for me to put together. That you can produce them and create them faster than a book. So I just want to continue to grow where unicorn jazz takes me. For sure, traveling. I can't wait to travel again, not only in the U.S., but all over, wherever there's children that I can teach and reach with some positive, fun, entertaining messages. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm tired just thinking about all you've got planned. But obviously, with all you've done, there's no doubt in my mind you'll be hitting 100% on all of those. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And before we go, is there anything you'd like to say for those interested in learning more?
Yeah, well, if you'd like to learn more, if there's something that sparks an interest in you, I'm Lisa Caprelli. You can find me at unicornjazz.com. I'm on all the social media. I do take the time to reply to people that reach out to me. I'm overjoyed anytime that I can be in front of students, whether it's one child or many in schools. And if you know someone or you have a school in mind that I could do, I do virtual or in-person author visits, and I share the joy of the thing I do to impress upon the younger generation and doing the things that they love to do. So thank you.
And we'll be including everything Lisa has mentioned in the show notes in case you didn't catch them. And we hope you've enjoyed this latest edition in our Spotlight series. Thank you for listening today. I look forward to joining you on the next episode. Until then, I'm Ryan Walter. And remember that solving your business problems begins when you decide to accelerate your approach and achieve more.
At Parrels Advisory, our focus is your business's future. Having the right insight, experience, and perspective makes all the difference when tackling far-reaching issues within your company. We are here to simplify the steps, unlock your potential, and move you forward, making your vision a reality. We've helped startups achieve massive growth, mid-sized businesses navigate digital transformation, and enterprises embrace innovation. Wondering how to jumpstart your business and move it forward? Contact us to discuss your audacious goals during a complimentary consultation. Thank you for listening to this episode of Accelerate to Achieve. If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen. Got a question, feedback on the program, or interested in being a guest? Simply go to parrels.co/A2A-podcast and send us a message. To learn more about our work or to book a consultation, visit us at parrels.co/contact. Until next time, remember that solving your biggest business problems begin when you decide to accelerate your approach and achieve more.